Aujourd'hui, la France a été attaquée en son cœur.
This is definitely the strangest, darkest period I've ever known.
I'm not afraid, but I want to fight.
You push us to become outside the law.
Their country's been attacked and French citizens are still reeling. So will you miss France?
Of course I miss France.
Lionel will soon swap this Parisian view for something very different.
It's beautiful, we have most of our origins in France.
A French Jew to his core, he's moving his family to Israel. He kept them away from our cameras, so scared is he of anti-Semitic attacks, and asked us not to use his full name.
Terrorism, Charlie Hebdo, it's a detonator. Of course we are afraid. We don't know where it's going to happen next time, and there is an accelerated situation. If I have in front of me 100 people, wonderful, but inside there is one who is shooting my children, what I am going to think about the 99 others? I say, yes, of course they are wonderful there, but it's not enough. There is this one who is shooting our children.
This week, the French president outlined tougher laws to fight anti-Semitism, but the flight has started. Sugar? Yes, Lionel knows 40 local Jewish families who are moving to Israel imminently, with many more thinking about it. Buoyed by a strong Israeli economy they believe will support them better than the failing French one. In a decade, 2 decades, do you think there'll be many Jews left in France?
Yeah, I think there is something like 500,000 Jewish in France. On these 500,000 in France, there is 10%, 50,000 who are communautaires or religious Jewish, and they are in the community. Those ones, I think most of them, 90% of them, will move to Israel, and I won't be surprised that 25% of Jewish Occidental people will move in Israel in the next 5 years.
Really?
Yes, I think so. Most by the opportunity of Israel than for the anti-Semitism here.
Exactly 7 weeks since the massacre at its offices, Charlie Hebdo resumed weekly publication today without any new cartoons of Mohammed. This magazine now stands for something eternally French. But France has discovered not everybody living here identifies with the Republic's values.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories in Paris at the moment that Mossad, organised Charlie Hebdo.
Andrew Hussey's lived in Paris for years and says a troubling rejection of the Holocaust is taking hold.
It's becoming a commonly held belief, certainly out in the banlieue, that the Holocaust never happened. The comedian Dieudonné is someone who's promulgating this point of view. And I think what's very dangerous is you're getting the spread of negationism of the masses. In other words, this occult, weird belief is becoming something that everyday people believe, that France is an Israeli-controlled country, that the Jews control France and so on. And it's very dangerous, I think.
How does that idea take hold?
There is an argument to be made that out there in the banlieue, there is a class or a group of people who feel that their very identity is under threat, they feel fractured, they feel unreal, inauthentic, in the terms that Jean-Paul Sartre would use, and the Jews become the easiest, the most visible scapegoat for their condition.
France has always tried to minimise this kind of scapegoating, demanding its citizens separate their religious from their civic identities. It's called laïcité and is often interpreted as requiring them to be French above everything. As Nicolas Sarkozy put it when he was president, becoming French means adhering to a form of civilization, values and culture. Outside the kosher supermarket, the makeshift memorial is testament to French solidarity. But while the shop windows are brand new, the French remedy for homegrown terrorism is not.
The flowers may have wilted here, but the political repercussions of what happened in Paris are only starting to emerge. We now know how the French government intends to stop attacks happening again. And their answer, perhaps surprisingly, is more of the kind of aggressive secularism, which is one of the founding principles of the French Republic. More attempts by the state to divorce its citizens' religions from their French identity.
But many Muslims feel France uses laïcité to attack them and their way of life. At Friday prayers on the outskirts of Paris, a nervous mood meant nobody wanted to be identified. But many believe laïcité isn't neutral. There are more than 8,000 Catholic schools, 300 Jewish, but only 4 Muslim ones. The state pays for the maintenance of some churches and synagogues, but no French mosques were built before secularism was introduced, so they don't qualify. Incredibly, 70% of the prison population of France are thought to be Muslim.
We have nothing. Look, this, not mosque, this. We have nothing. And now to have our own mosque, we must have help from the government. But the government say, laicity, we can't help you. So we have a big problem.
Do you think it's unfair? Is that discrimination?
Yeah, it is. Now it is discrimination.
They are our project of future mosque.
Monsieur Eni showed me where they plan to build a new mosque. It's taken them 10 years to get permission. Now it's a question of raising €3 million. Until then, when the temporary mosque is full, others pray outside, which, by the way, is against the law in Paris.
Each time they give a law specially for the Muslim, not for another cult, only for Muslim.
So you feel persecuted?
So we feel you push us to become outlawer.
How do Muslims feel now?
I am sad to tell it, but it is bad feeling. For the first time, Muslims think to go back to their originally country. Seriously.
What's needed, perhaps, is a coming together, and in a church in the heart of Paris, they're trying. In amongst the congregation, not just practicing Catholics, but David, a Jew, and Leda, a Muslim. They're here with a group called Coexistence, people of all faiths and none, who believe the answer to hatred is to understand each other better.
Pour la fraternité. Voilà.
Salam, salam.
Wildly naive or the nub of everything, it's one reaction by young people in a country still in shock.
Do you feel fear right now in France?
I'm not scared. I'm not scared because I know in my way, in our way, we are fighting too. We don't want French people to be divided, and that's the main point. So I'm not afraid, but I want to fight.
Il y a un certain nombre de juifs qui partent en France. Après, mon point de vue à moi, c'est que c'est pas la bonne solution de quitter, enfin en quelque sorte de fuir. Pour moi, justement, il faut rester, et comme l'a dit Pierre, il faut justement combattre.
Do you feel, David, French first and then Jewish, or Jewish first and then French?
Français en premier, oui, et juif ensuite, oui.
Et vous, Leda?
Moi, je ne fais pas d'hiérarchie. Je suis française et musulmane et je ne sens pas l'envie ou le besoin de mettre la France en premier ou ma religion en premier. Je pense que les deux vont très bien ensemble.
We left Coexistence showering a Parisian mosque with love. But it will take much more than hearts on windows. In post-Charlie Hebdo France, the battle for hearts and minds is far from won.